Well, good morning, First Church. Everybody good today? Well, as Susie mentioned, we're talking about World Vision today. And we have the whole World Vision team here. You might notice the orange shirts. They fit better on some people than others, but just saying. Hey, I got to tell you, one of the favorite charities that I ever work with is World Vision. And one of the reasons I do is because they support initiatives all over the globe. And they don't do it in a one-off kind of basis. By the way, that's a picture of my granddaughter up there with me. That was last year. We did the 6K walk that I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And I say walk because some of you can't run that far, including me. So several years ago, there's a former CEO, and his name is Rich Stearns from World Vision. And he wrote a book, The Hole in Our Gospel. And he starts the book like this. If your personal faith in Christ has no outward expression, then your faith and mission has a hole in it. I'll tell you, I read that book, and I've read it several times since, and every time I read it, it brings me to tears, some of the stories that I hear in there. Here's some facts that may kind of put this in perspective. 1.22 billion people in this world today live on less than $1.25 a day. That's 17% of the world population. 2.5 billion people, which is 33% of the world's population, live on less than $2 a day. But here in the United States, our average daily allowance of the money available is $114. That's over 100 times the poorest people and 50 times the next poorest people. Too much is given, much is expected. But around the same time that I read that book and I was just becoming familiar with World Vision, I was sitting where you are. And I was listening to the World Vision discussion and honestly pitch about Wells for Africa. And as a longtime sponsor of World Vision Children, I was both moved and inspired by the idea of providing sustainable water to people in Africa. So they convinced me at the time, they said, if you can walk from the couch to the refrigerator, you can do a half marathon. I believed them. I was 25 pounds overweight. I hadn't run in forever, didn't like to run, but I kind of bought the program. So most of the people that gave me money, and there were a lot of them, didn't think I was going to make it. Yeah, they were betting against me. You know what? I collected on that bet, though. So my job today isn't to get you to participate in a run. There will be other people that will talk about that. But I'm here asking you to do two things. One is either consider sponsoring a child through World Vision, or number two, we're not going to do a run, we're going to do a walk for those of you that aren't up for a 6K run, and we're going to do it on May 20th. So either participate in that or sponsor one of those two things is what I'm asking for. See, my wife and I have been sponsoring children for a long time, probably over 25 years, and we've had a number of those kids go from grade school all the way through high school and then age out of the program. Well, right now we have 3 kids that we sponsor. This is the first guy, and I put him up first because his name is Santiago, by the way. And you notice he's holding a picture of me. Talk about a humbling experience. For this particular sponsorship, I had to submit a request to sponsor somebody, and he chose me. So right now, he's my favorite. Right now. The second one this is Juan Jose. He's holding a little guitar there. He bought that with some extra money I sent. It's amazing what $100 can do in some of these impoverished communities. So the third one, and by the way, he's, let's see, how old is he? He's 10. The first kid was 12. And then this is Gisela. Gisela has been with us since she was 2. She's now 11. And one of the things we do is correspond regularly, so the internet's made that really cool. So I get a picture of a handwritten note that somebody sent me. I really like it. Anyway, so I sent $100 to one of these communities, and next thing I know, they send me pictures back of a bicycle, a year's worth of clothes, 2 months worth of food, $100. Your dollars go a long way with World Vision. See, World Vision takes a long vision in the communities that they support. They build and they teach lessons and method that create sustainable environments and sustainable processes that allow those communities to grow and thrive. They're one of the most efficient organizations on the face of the planet when it comes to delivering services. 90% of every dollar you give them goes directly to service one of those people that they supply things to. It's world class. I got to tell you, nobody is that good, and nobody the size of World Vision is that good. So what I'd like you to do this morning is consider sponsoring a child, support a 6K participant, or maybe be a 6K participant of your own. If you choose sponsorship, you can choose a boy or girl online. You don't have to submit a picture. You can pick out who you want. You can pick out what country you want. You can pick out boy or girl. You can pick out age. And I'll tell you, I think I speak for everybody that has ever volunteered and done something, how good you feel when you've done doing, when you finish that, you feel like, wow, I got more out of that than I put into it. And you think the person on the other end maybe didn't get as much as you did because you get so much out of it. And that's kind of how we feel when we work with our World Vision kids. They send you a picture and you know that without your support and World Vision, they couldn't have done that picture because they wouldn't have had crayons, they wouldn't have had a desk, they wouldn't have had a school to do it in, and they wouldn't have had supportive enough people around them to make that happen. So I know that a lot of people don't want to sponsor a child. It's kind of a long-term commitment. It is about the value of one meal a month. It's around $39. But there are people here that are going to be running both half marathons, and boy, they could really use your support because that's a real commitment. I know from experience. One time, by the way, only one time. And or sponsoring somebody on a 6K, or doing a 6K yourself, or choose a child. I'm going to be out in the hall after service, and I can show you how to do all of those things. Thank you so much.
That's a fun picture. Hi, everyone. My name is Rita Thompson, and I was not a one and done as I thought I was going to be. I actually have this jersey, this different colored jersey, because I've been part of Team World Vision for over 10 years. This is actually mine and my husband's 12th season going into Team World Vision. Back in January 2012, just like all of you are sitting in your church right now, I was sitting in my church, and Team World Vision came and did their spiel about joining, and at that time it was for the Chicago Full Marathon. I myself was a runner already, so I was like, that sounds like a great idea. And my husband was not a runner and had no desire to do it. But we were at a time in our life where we were trying to start a family. We had struggled with infertility and miscarriages, and actually had just recently at that time had a failed adoption, where we were just like feeling really hopeless. And we're like, well, if we can't have children of our own, we can help kids in Africa have access to clean water and then hear about Jesus. So we signed up. And we, like Mike said, we thought, hey, it's going to be a one and done. We've never fundraised before. We've never raised money for anything before. But we just thought it was a really great commission that they were doing. So we figured, all right, we'll try it out. And what started as a one and done became our life. We made lifelong friendships. We built community within our church and then eventually outside our church because other churches joined in the effort. And then God has a funny sense of humor because after we signed up for the Chicago Marathon, he put us in touch with a family to then adopt our daughter right in the middle of training for the Chicago Marathon. It was a challenge, but God pulled us through, and it was incredible. And now we have 2 children. They both, Team World Vision is a part of our lives. They have joined in on it. I got my running stroller. I did. They're too old for that now. But it's been an amazing adventure. And the first year I did it, like I said, we did the Chicago Marathon. The second year I joined a MOPS group. I'm not sure if your church has it, where a bunch of moms are all together. And I got a bunch of stay-at-home moms with their husbands to join Team World Vision, and I'll run the Detroit full marathon. And these women and men had never even run in their lives or fundraise. And these are stay-at-home moms who don't have connections in corporate America, and they were each able to raise over $3,000, which in Team World Vision terms is called a hero. It was amazing. And I mean, my first year running Chicago, our goal was set at 13:10, which was $50 per mile that you run in the race. And every time my husband and I, who fundraise separately, would hit those goals, we'd raise it to the next amount and the next amount. And by Chicago Marathon race day, I had raised $4,250. And it was all God. He just put people in my life and in my path. And I'd asked, and we always said, what's the worst they can say? No. If they say no, you just move on to the next person, and it's okay. But it was giving people the opportunity to support you because you were doing something bigger than yourself. And we have a mantra, it's an African proverb at Team World Vision: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we were all going together in this, and people who were fundraising and donating to us were part of that with us. And you don't feel like you have to, like Mike was talking about doing the 6K. There are people that have raised thousands of dollars doing this 6K. My husband has been doing this with me for 12 years as well. The most money he ever raised in 1 year was the year he did the Detroit 5K. He put a fun thing out there where he said, hey, if I raise at least $5,000 for the 5K, I'll wear this ridiculous outfit on race day. And he was able to raise the money, and that's what he did. Some really great fundraising ideas that we've done are, we've done themed euchre tournaments. We've done collecting cans from your neighborhoods or your schools. There's one of our teammates, she hits 10,000 every year just by cans. She doesn't like to ask people money, but she goes and asks everyone for their cans, and that's how she fundraises. People do sports squares. We've actually bought those fundraiser candy bars from Sam's Club and sold those at work. We've just found all kinds of creative ways to fundraise, but the number one way I found fundraising for 12 years now is personal asks. Not a mass email, but an individual email or text message or phone call to someone that you know, somebody from high school, somebody from college, coworkers, neighbors, family members. Honestly, for me, are the hardest ones to get to donate to me. Don't know why, but they are. But finding a personal way to connect with them and then telling them what you're doing. And not putting limits on God. With Team World Vision, one of the big things is awesome if you can achieve. It's called Legacy, which is the jersey that Dave's wearing, that gray jersey, is if you raise $10,000 in one season. And I, for 5 years, had not achieved that goal. It was really hard for me. I usually got about 5 or 6, 7,000 every year. And in 2017, I said, I am going to hit Legacy. And not God, I had my plan of running my 10th marathon and raising $10,000 that year. And then shortly after I made that goal, God decided to put a different goal and challenged me at a meeting I was at to raise $20,000. And I said no, I wasn't going to do that. Well, God has his way. And a couple weeks later, I was invited to a race called the Longest Day Marathon, where it was a made-up race through World Vision, where I went to Chicago and ran around a track from sunrise to sunset on the first day of the summer, longest day of the year, and ended up running almost 61 miles in one day. And through people sponsoring me on that day, while I was finishing that race that day, I raised over $22,000. And I was just literally sobbing while I was running, which is really hard to do, because I realized that I had put limits on God and what I thought I was supposed to do, and he made a way for me and brought people into my life, that people from high school that I hadn't talked to in over 20 years, who came and donated and sponsored me. And then by the time I ran my 11th marathon, the Detroit Marathon that year, I had raised over $26,200 for Team World Vision. So it has been an incredible journey. I just ask, if you think you can do even the 5K, the 6K, the half marathon, the full marathon, we have all different kinds of things you can do, but don't put limits on God. You can do this if he calls you to it, and he will put people in your path to help you fundraise.
So as a music teacher, do I need to lower this? It's good? All right. As a music teacher, standing behind the music stand is very comfortable to me. But speaking to people over the age of 10 is not. I'm a K-5 music teacher, and so I'm really used to speaking to large groups of people, but as I said, most of them are under the age of 10. But I think what we're here today to talk to you about a little bit is stepping outside of that comfort zone. I was asked to share with you today my experiences last year as a first-timer running the half marathon for Team Rural Vision and why I chose to do it. Like many of you, I had listened to many testimonials by members of the team in previous years and always declined the invitation to join the team. However, one statement made during the service last year spoke directly to me. It caused me to seriously consider the possibility of running 13.1 miles, a distance I had never had the desire to do before. And I'll circle back to what that statement was in just a moment. But first, I'd like to make it clear that I am not a runner. I've never experienced running euphoria. I've never purchased specialized running equipment, shirt being a little exception to that. I've never participated in organized sports in all of my life, especially those that involved running. Prior to last year, the farthest I had run in a single activity was the Plymouth Canton SJ5K, and I had run the Team Rural Vision 6K, which is only about 3.7 miles. Years ago, I began running as part of my daily fitness routine, not because I enjoyed it, but because I could get the greatest amount of steps in the least amount of time, which was a very important reason for doing it, as a mother with 2 young children at the time, and I was working full time. So I needed to get, the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time. So after several years, I was running a 5K on my treadmill 3 or 4 times per week. When asked, it was easy to join the SJ5K or the Team Rural Vision 6K because it took no additional motivation or sacrifice from me. I was already doing it. So I was like, okay, I can just work out, outside one time. At that time, I had no desire to run any further. So what was the spark that ignited the motivation to run that half marathon of 13.1 miles? Well, as I sat in the seats where you are now, one statement made about a year ago spoke to me. One of the Team World Vision members, probably one of them that's sitting there today, stated, and this is not verbatim, "For years I ran for myself, and now I could run for a bigger purpose." After some thought and prayer, I realized that God was telling me to use my workouts to work for Him. Through participation in the Team Rural Vision Half Marathon, I could impact the lives of children and families in Africa with a fresh and sustainable water source. At that time, I may not have been able to go overseas and dig the wells, but my feet could run the streets of Detroit and Windsor to raise the funds needed to have it done. Throughout the months of training, I found camaraderie, encouragement, and inspiration from everyone on the local and regional teams. Saturday morning team runs in Hines Park gradually built my stamina for longer distances. Race day excitement and adrenaline was palpable as thousands of runners and walkers gathered near campus marshes before dawn on a chilly, but thankfully it wasn't windy or rainy, Sunday morning in October. That was one of my little prayers to God. You called me to do this. Could we not have rain? Crossing the Ambassador Bridge at sunrise, having divine intervention place the only other person at the race that I knew, besides Team World Vision teammates, into my path. And I think, on the slide, that one slide, this was one of those divine interventions. I only knew one other person that was running the race, and he was running the relay for his company team. And he was the second person on the relay. And as we kind of approached the second spot, I said, what would be the chances that he would come into the course? My earbuds, I was running with earbuds, had just disconnected, okay? And sure enough, I saw him enter the course, like the distance from me to the back wall. And so I just really plowed ahead. I'm like, okay, I pushed it forward so I could catch up to him and say his name. And he turned around, he's like, Linda. And so we ran together. And at that time, his earbuds, the battery had gone out, and he was thinking it was going to be a long run. Both of us ran for his entire, segment, and I said, the chances with these thousands of people that he would come onto the course right in front of me, right? And sharing the finish line with new friends has motivated me to, yes, I am going to do it again. And no, I hadn't signed up yet, and they're like, well, the table's right out there, Linda, you can do it today. So I will probably be doing it today. So at one of the regional Team World Vision kickoff activities, everyone was offered the opportunity to paint a single word on a small rock to keep in sight for inspiration while we did our training. This single word would serve as a visual reminder of why we were called to do this. My word was able. God made me able to run this half marathon to affect the lives of his children thousands of miles away from where I live. Many people in Africa are not able to turn on the faucet to get a drink, take a shower, wash the dishes, or turn on the sprinkler. I leave you with this one question. What has God made you able to do?
Good morning. My name's Don Keskihunila. I'm not at all used to being up here. As a matter of fact, the last time I was in this spot was 44 years ago when I married my wonderful wife, Terry. I was facing this way, which I can't do today. So this year, I'm stepping up to lead our Plymouth First team for our 2023 Team World Vision campaign. Carrying the mantle from Dave, who's been doing this for 7 years, 7 of the 8 years here. And one of the roles as a leader is to, of course, thank the people that support you. So I'd like to thank Mike and Linda and Rita for their heartfelt comments this morning. Very nice job. I'd also like to thank the congregation here and those that are out there for the support that they gave in 2022. It was really generous, and it drives us forward for doing more even in 2023. And I'll share some details about that later. Let's turn to 1 Corinthians 12, verses 12 to 20. Christ is just like the human body. A body is a unit and has many parts, and all the parts of the body are one body, even though there are many. We were all baptized by one Spirit into one body, whether Jew or Greek or slave or free, and we were all given one Spirit to drink. Certainly the body isn't one part, but many. If the foot says, I'm not part of the body because I'm not a hand, does that mean it's not part of the body? If the ear says, I'm not part of the body because I'm not an eye, does that mean it's not part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, what would happen to the hearing? And if the whole body were an ear, what would happen to the sense of smell? But as it is, God had placed each one of the parts in the body just like he wanted. We need to sign this fellow up. If all were one and the same body part, what would happen to the body? But as it is, there are many parts, but one body. I might have missed something there. So, as I anticipated retirement in 2019, I had worries about the transition. I knew I would miss the inspiring energy of the younger people that I worked with. I knew that my type A side would miss driving towards goals, and I would miss the rewards of hitting targets and goals. Additionally, my motivation to keep up the running program was waning. Rah-rah Don was kind of wearing thin. I needed people and goals and motivation. You could say that my whole would be missing some parts, and I was worried about how I would function without those parts. A pivotal conversation happened around that time during coffee and snacks after one spring Sunday service around this time of the year. One of our past members, Jim Quinlan, who actually founded the Team World Vision group here at the church, introduced me to Dave Pruitt, who was kicking off another year of Team World Vision fundraising. One conversation with Dave pointed down a path where all three of my concerns were addressed. You see, Dave is part of the Canton Runners, that is a group largely made up of Team World Vision runners that runs year-round and happens to run right past my front door on Hanford every Tuesday and Thursday. So what stronger calling could there be than that? I think everyone in the group is younger than I am, so plenty of youthful energy to draw from. They run with a very worthwhile mission in mind, supporting Team World Vision that has certainly goals to reach for. And with so many deeply experienced runners, the group is rich with information and advice to keep ourselves and each other intact. Running does indeed teach you to use your brain, to listen to those body parts that call for attention. And being part of a community of runners makes it clear the importance of how beneficial it is to ourselves and to the integrity of the group to listen to each other's worries and concerns and sustain each other as a body. So too the church body. When pain or need is experienced and there is a calling for support of a mission or a service, we need to contribute and keep the body whole. And at an even higher level, when a population is in need for something as basic as water, there is a call for us to provide support, to make our global body of humanity more whole. So how did we do in 2022? Let's look at how well World Vision did in the Detroit region. In short, we did very well. Our team is one of the 13 church-based teams that made up the Detroit region. Detroit raised enough funds to support clean water for nearly 10,500 people. That's about the population of the city of Plymouth or Saline. In addition, folks stepped up to sponsor 28 children. Detroit actually ranked at the top of all U.S. cities using the metric of per person fundraising. So the Detroit region did indeed stand proud last year. With our Detroit region including very large churches like Wards and Northridge, Plymouth First certainly is not one of the largest, but our church did pull its weight with our 7 members drawing in over $11,000. This supports clean water for 226 children, and one of the 28 adopted children is ours. So for 2023, we do have new goals, and guess what? We're notching up the bar a little bit higher. We're targeting that our team grow by 3 to 10, and by holding the same average individual fundraising, and meeting our goal will translate to clean water for about 300 people. So let's go for it. Once again, a big thank you for your amazing support in 2022. And if you felt a little bit of a pull to do something, do a little bit more, come out and talk to us at our table and enjoy some food. So with that, thank you very much.